Where are you from?
I'm from San Diego.
What did you study at Harvard?
Biomedical Engineering and Computer Science with a citation in Chinese.
And why did you choose that?
I really, really like both of them. Grew up reading sci-fi.
And why did you decide to study Chinese?
I'm part Chinese. Wanted to connect with my cultural heritage.
Cool. Weren't you the first person at Harvard to graduate with a joint degree in biomedical engineering and computer science?
Yes, ma'am.
That's amazing. And how many classes did you take each semester in order to fit in all of those requirements?
Lots. Definitely more than one. Around 5.
Would you suggest taking extra classes?
Not if you don't have to. You should focus on the courses you can take.
That makes sense. What was your favorite class and why?
It's a really good question. I think CS 263, System Security, James Mickens.
Why?
Really love how Professor Mickens teaches. I thought it was really engaging, super funny class, and I thought it was super relevant to all the topics going on today.
And who was your favorite professor and why?
That's really tough. I had a lot of really great professors. If I had to pick, probably a tie between James Mickens, Eddie Kohler, and Kit Parker.
Great. And so I know you had to write a thesis as a joint concentrator. What was it on?
My thesis was on emergent behavior in human and bacterial cells.
Cool. And who are your thesis advisors?
My thesis advisors were Stratus Andreas, systems professor, James Mickens, also a sys professor, and Kit Parker, bioengineering professor.
Can you explain to me your favorite biomedical engineering concept?
Yeah. I think one of the coolest concepts is that cells all work together and kind of cooperate, even though they're pretty dumb. So they aren't necessarily conscious or sentient, but they end up communicating with each other really clearly in a lot of different ways. I think it's really cool.
Did you consider studying anything other than what you ended up studying?
Yes, I thought about studying linguistics and government.
What academic building did you spend most of your time in?
That's also a good question. Probably Northwest Labs, maybe Van Serg or Maxwell Dworkin. Probably Northwest.
Can you describe what the building is like?
Big and corporate and imposing from the outside. It has a deep dungeon of cement in the bottom.
Nice. What was your freshman year like?
Intense. It was a lot. I was balancing a lot of different activities. Also new to college. That was a lot. But super fun. Definitely had a great time.
What was your hardest semester and why?
Easy. Sophomore spring. It was just a combination of family stuff, my own personal life. School was really hard. Everything was difficult.
What was the hardest class you took?
Probably LS50. It was just a lot of topics, super in-depth, high bar required of us.
And what class did you spend the most time on?
I think probably BE 121, which is cellular engineering, or CS 161, which is operating systems. They both just a lot of time.
What was your favorite semester and why?
I think my senior fall was probably my favorite semester. I felt like I was hitting my stride, knew how to study, had a good social life, felt good as a senior. I was about to leave, and I just was having the most fun.
And how many hours a week would you say you spent on homework?
And that's outside of classwork, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's probably around 30 hours a week.
Oh my god, that's a lot. What class was the most useful?
That's also a really good question. I think maybe like CS 124 or CS 61 was the most useful for me. I mean, my day-to-day job uses a lot of like how do you design products and things, and I think that those are pretty far removed from a lot of our classes. But both of the courses I mentioned teach a lot of like logic and reasoning and how to approach problems. So that was pretty useful.
Nice. And what class did you wish you had taken?
I wish I had taken CS 20, which is the kind of intro to theory class. I think that would have been really helpful in making my life easier.
Nick, when did you graduate?
I graduated this May 2020.
And since you graduated, what do you do now?
I work as an APM at Google.
Oh, so do you think you'll ever do work directly in biomedical engineering and computer science?
I sure hope so. The goal is to start a company in them.
Nice. And what house did you live in while at Harvard?
I was in Quincy.
How far was your house from most of your classes?
Very average. I think it was about a 10-12 minute walk.
What was your favorite dining hall?
I liked Courier's dining hall the most, but that might have been because I was seeing good friends.
Did you have to eat in Northwest Labs a lot?
Yes, probably too much. Yeah.
What was your favorite menu item there?
Chicken tendies.
What about Flyby?
What was my favorite item in Flyby, or did I eat there a lot?
Both.
I ate there a ton. Also too much. And my favorite item there was probably the white chili.
What is your favorite spot on campus?
Either the kind of hidden secret garden behind Lamont or the like study rooms up in top of Stone Hall.
And how much lab work did you have to do for biomedical engineering?
So much. I think every class required around 3 to 5 hour weekly lab.
What did you do freshman summer?
Well, speaking of lab, I worked in a lab. I worked in the Luis Institute over by HMS.
Can you tell me what you did during that time?
Yes, we did a lot of work with proteins. We were studying encapsulins, which are a type of protein that fold into shells.
Cool. Can you tell me something cool about proteins then?
Yeah, some proteins can fold into shells. Proteins do a lot of really cool stuff, and they have varying functionalities. I think one of the coolest things that proteins can do is they can act as like a venom. Most venoms that you know are actually protein based.
Wow. What did you do sophomore summer?
I blanked. I worked in China, also in a lab, but this was like a half industrial, half research lab called the Beijing Genomics Institute.
What was your favorite thing about working in China?
That's really tough. There was a lot of great stuff going on in China. I felt like every day was a pretty cool adventure of just discovering new things, also getting some work done, hanging out with my colleagues.
What was the most confusing thing about working in China?
None of my coworkers spoke English, so that made it a little bit more difficult to communicate, but I had Chinese BA, BB behind my back, so, ready to fight.
What was the craziest thing you saw in China?
That's a really good question. We had flamingos at our lab, but that's not the craziest part. They glowed green, very faintly in the dark.
How good is your Chinese then?
It should be better. It's technically, I've taken 3 years of Chinese at Harvard, so it should be pretty good. And,
What was surprising about studying biomedical engineering?
I think the most surprising part was how much of it was not pure bioengineering. A lot of it's like physics, chemistry, biology separately, and you do a lot of work to study each kind of fundamental piece on its own.
What would you tell someone who is thinking about declaring biomedical engineering?
I would tell them to figure out very quickly what about bioengineering excites you, and then take the classes that teach you how to do that or what it is about. Because there's so much to bioengineering, and being able to focus will make you feel a lot better about it.
What would you do differently about your experience?
I would have focused more. I think I was taking a really broad approach to the things that I was interested in. I think I would have prioritized amongst my interests.
What would you keep the same about your experience?
Well, this is a funny answer, but I would keep it all the same. I really love who I am today, and I think that I wouldn't have gotten here without my experiences.
Nice. And last question, what is one of your favorite Harvard memories?
That's also really tough. I had a fantastic time. Probably an event, like my first Harvard Yale, I think was one of my favorite memories. Had kind of just gotten to know my roommates. I feel like we were all really close, and then we had this kind of great day of wandering around and having a great time with Harvard Yale. We lost, but it was still a really wonderful memory.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.